Good afternoon, everyone. This is Dylan Lusk with the National Weather Service in Peachtree City, Atlanta, and this is going to be your weekly weather briefing for Thursday, September 24th, 2020. Alright, so big story today is going to be the remnants of what was Tropical Storm Beta that are going to be moving through, and they're going to bring rainfall chances and chances of storms to our area. We've already got rain falling across the area today, and we'll continue to see some of that into tomorrow before that begins to move out. So right now we're expecting our highest rain totals to be across North Georgia, and especially our far northwestern counties, so Dade, Walker, Catoosa, those areas. At the moment, we're not expecting widespread flooding like we saw last week, but we still could see some isolated flooding and or flash flooding, especially across North Georgia and into Northwest Georgia. We do have as well a marginal risk for severe weather today, and that's going to be down towards the Columbus area, just basically a very thin strip of West Georgia. And then tomorrow we'll have a marginal risk in central and southeastern Georgia, and that will include the Macon area. This is going to be primarily a wind threat, but we can't rule out a brief tornado. And in fact, today we've actually already seen a brief a brief weak tornado that spun up down in the Florida Panhandle, and that stuff is moving toward us, so certainly can happen. After that, once that moves through on Friday, we do have small chances of showers and storms through the weekend. And then we'll have another storm system come in. This one's going to be not tropical, thankfully, but it is going to be another storm system that's going to move into the area, or I should say potentially move into the area early next week. And I say potentially because there is some uncertainty around this. We've seen the models be a little wishy-washy on whether or not it moves through us or moves a little bit further north, etc. And so whether or not we see rain or anything like that from the system is still kind of up in the air. After that, though, one thing we do have a lot of certainty around is that we're going to get a pretty strong cold front that comes through in the middle of next week and should start to bring us some much more fall-like weather once again. So here's our current conditions. As stated before, we've got the remnants of beta that are starting to kind of move into our area. Right now they're sitting basically over Mississippi. This is from a little bit earlier this morning, so they've moved a little further east. They're a little bit closer towards the Mississippi-Alabama border at this time. And beyond that, you can see the rainfall here is basically most of the heavy rain is to the north of where the remnants are. And so that is going to kind of continue to track toward the northeast, and so that heavier rainfall is expected to kind of continue to track across North Georgia today. Here's what it looks like from the satellite. You can see we've got this nice, big, pretty swirl back over the Mississippi area, starting to move into Alabama. We've got some of these puffier clouds that are to the north of, you can see here kind of over Mississippi and Alabama, we've got a warm front. That warm front is going to be kind of key to our severe weather later today. Basically, as this moves northeast, that warm front will move a little bit northeast, and areas to the south of that are where we will potentially have our best chance for our severe weather a little bit later this afternoon into this evening. And you can kind of see there's already some thunderstorms. One of these storms is actually one of the storms that produced a tornado down in the Florida Panhandle today. So we are starting to already see some thunderstorms pop up along that, so we'll have to keep an eye on that. And then here's just a closer view of the radar, and as you're probably well aware of already, we've already got rainfall pretty much spreading over most of North Georgia, already getting into the metro of Atlanta, and we're also seeing rain really move into the rest of Georgia, including central Georgia now as well. Alright, and I should say with that, we do have some heavier rain that is still to come, as you could see back in Alabama and Mississippi. So here's our severe weather outlook for today. As I said before, the primary hazards with this is going to be wind and tornadoes, but we're definitely more concerned about the potential for wind gusts than we would be for the tornadoes. Tornadoes are definitely going to be a very, very isolated threat, but we can't quite rule it out. And as I said before, we have seen one occur already today down towards Florida. This is going to be primarily for the Columbus area. The timing is going to be late afternoon and into the evening, so we're thinking like 3 o'clock basically until the sun goes down. And once the sun goes down, we should lose any instability that we do have out there, and the chances of seeing these tornadoes should really drop off, and severe weather in general should really drop off pretty quickly. We do have a marginal risk as well on Friday, so our day 2. And that's going to be kind of primarily from Macon to Augusta, points a little bit northward, and then pretty much everywhere south from that across Georgia. We're once again going to be primarily concerned about the wind, and then there will potentially be a small risk for tornadoes, though hopefully that risk will be mostly east of Georgia, as the system kind of very quickly moves off to the northeast on Friday. Alright, so the other aspect of this is going to be the potential for heavy rainfall. This is today's rainfall forecast. It does include some rainfall that has already fallen. We've seen, especially in northwest Georgia, that's where we've seen some of our heaviest amounts so far. Generally, totals up there are around a quarter to half an inch. We've had a couple isolated spots that look like they've picked up a little bit more, especially towards Dade County, so upwards of like an inch or so. You can expect probably another inch to inch and a half of rain on top of that as we go through tonight and into tomorrow morning. That shouldn't cause too many issues given the long time period that that rain is going to be falling over. It also helps that our kind of antecedent conditions, so the soil up there, it hasn't rained quite as much, especially compared to what we saw in the Atlanta metro and then points southward down into central Georgia, where we saw 3, 4, 5+ inches of rain last week. North Georgia, you guys didn't get quite as much rain from that system, so your soil and things like that should be able to handle it a little bit better right now. So that's part of the reason why we don't have any kind of flood or flash flood advisories out for you guys, or watches I should say, right now. But we are going to keep an eye on it. If we do get any heavier cells that move across the area, you certainly could see isolated places that pick up a little more than what you're seeing here, which is generally in that like 2 to 2.5 inch range across North Georgia. So we'll be watching it today for sure. But like I said before, we're not expecting that kind of widespread flooding that we saw last week by any means, thankfully. Here's your Friday rainfall forecast. So as you can see, our system basically picks up and keeps moving to the northeast, and so our heavier rainfall amounts shift accordingly more towards eastern Georgia. We expect most of that likely to be falling in the early morning hours, potentially a little bit into the afternoon before our system clears out and hopefully is clearing the area by Friday night into Saturday. So when you put it all together, here's the 48-hour rainfall forecast for today and tomorrow. And so across North Georgia, generally speaking, 2 to 2.5 inches over a pretty wide area here across North Georgia. It is possible in places that we see basically some heavier pockets of, say, some storms or something like that pop up. We could see some isolated higher amounts, but we're not expecting anything to get too out of control up there. All right, because of this though, because of this heavy rainfall and because of the chance that we could see some isolated higher amounts, we do have a slight risk of flash flooding across North Georgia today with our excessive rainfall outlook that comes from the Weather Prediction Center, the WPC. And then we also have a marginal risk that's going to extend through the metro as well as Athens and Columbus. And once again, just to kind of keep hammering it home, this is expected to be, definitely not as widespread as we saw last week. We're looking at more of a kind of an isolated threat overall with this for our flash flooding and flooding in general. All right, here is for Friday, the excessive rainfall outlook. No slight risk, just a marginal risk across portions of eastern Georgia, and this is where we could once again just see some pockets of heavier rain with, say, some thunderstorms or something like that as our system begins to lift off to the northeast. All right, after that, Saturday, things actually clear up pretty nicely. We have pretty low chances of rain on Saturday. There could be some lingering moisture with the system as it moves out. So we could see a few isolated showers and thunderstorms, but we're not expecting anything significant or severe. And then, as you can see here on Sunday, kind of high pressure that starts to settle in over the region, kind of weak high pressure. We will still have some moisture around, so we do have, once again, very, very slight chances of rain. But you'll see back here, we have a cold front that is beginning to move towards the region. By Monday, that'll be moving in. Sunday night into Monday, it is possible we could have a small storm system that comes out of Texas and moves across this cold front. Some models have been keying on this on and off, the American models as well as the European models, but we haven't seen anything too consistent, so kind of stay tuned on that. We could see a storm system and could see some decent rainfall out of that if it does come to fruition, but we will have a cold front moving through either way. That cold front will clear the area by Tuesday, but it's not going to be a very strong cold front. The strong cold front actually comes in behind that. And you can see there's two cold fronts here on Tuesday, and the second one that is back towards Illinois, Missouri, Arkansas, and Oklahoma. And that pushes through into our area on Wednesday. And here's our 6 to 10 day outlook from the Climate Prediction Center. And as you can see highlighted here on the right, we've got pretty significant probabilities. This is 70% over a pretty wide area of seeing colder than normal temperatures in the 6 to 10 day outlook, so towards the middle of next week and into next week. And that's going to be due to that cold front that's going to be pushing through us and bringing what should hopefully be much more fall-like temperatures. And just to give you an idea of what that'll look like, here's your 7-day high temperature forecast starting today and going through Wednesday of next week. You can see we kind of warm up through the weekend as the clouds and the rain kind of clear out, and we still have this kind of moist, somewhat tropical air mass that sticks behind. We get a weak cold front that moves through, say, Monday into Tuesday, and then by Wednesday we get into these much more fall-like temperatures with things beginning to fall off pretty quickly into the middle to lower 70s across much of our area, and even 70s down towards central Georgia here, the upper 70s. Here is, just to give you an idea, well into the future, here's our 1 month outlook from the Climate Prediction Center. Right now, looking forward in time, it looks like they are predicting a little bit of colder temperatures over the central U.S., but for us here in Georgia, their predictions are basically we could be a little bit wetter, and it looks like they have equal chances of us being warmer or colder. So not too much to look at there. We'll wrap up with the tropical weather outlook. Very good news here. It seems like our very, very active period may finally be coming to an end. It doesn't mean that we won't see another one in, say, another week or two, but for now at least, we're going to get a little bit of a breather. We've got the remnants of former tropical storm Beta here, and otherwise there is nothing out in the Atlantic Ocean, and there are no areas of potential development over the next 2 to 5 days that we are tracking at all. So very, very good news and a much welcome break for really all of the United States from the tropical weather. All right, so just to summarize once again, we've got the remnants of Beta coming through today. It's going to bring some heavy rainfall to North Georgia and chances of storms into west and central Georgia today and tomorrow. As stated before, we're not expecting the widespread flooding like we saw last week, but we could see some of that isolated flooding or flash flooding. We do have a marginal risk for severe weather today and tomorrow towards central Georgia. primarily expecting that to be a wind threat, but a brief tornado cannot be ruled out. We have a small chance of showers and storms through the weekend. We could see another storm system move through Sunday night into the Monday time period, but we're kind of uncertain with that. But after that, we are expecting a pretty strong cold front to move in and bring us some much more fall-like weather by midweek. All right, so that's all we have for you this week. If you have any questions or would like to speak to us about anything, please feel free to give us a call. We'll also be monitoring our Twitter and Facebook. And of course, this will be posted to our local YouTube. Thanks so much. Have a great rest of your day.